Greenland, visited the island in late April in a show of unity amid the diplomatic standoff with Trump. I think that's an important move right there. Also, you have UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer visiting Canada the day before the G7 summit for security talks with Canada after Trump threats. The Prime Minister will meet with his counterpart, Prime Minister Carney, on Saturday for a wide-ranging talk, including questions on how to handle Donald Trump. So you see, before this G7, and you know Donald Trump's going to just absolutely disgrace and humiliate the United States at this G7. You see the kind of plotting right here, the world consolidating power and isolating the United States, right? Macron showing that Europe's got the back of Denmark, going to Greenland. Keir Starmer going to Canada, meeting with Prime Minister Carney. And by the way, that follows 2 weeks ago, the speech from the Crown by King Charles, which was directed at Donald Trump without saying his name once. Sir Keir Starmer will travel to Canada next week to discuss security and economic cooperation after Trump's threats to its independence. He will meet Mark Carney, the Prime Minister, on June 14th. Carney attempted to repair the relations, but Trump doubled tariffs on steel imports to 50%, sparking Canadian warnings of catastrophic job losses, factory closures, and disruption to supply chains. Also, you take a look at just what's going on in international travel right now. We're seeing, I think this number is low, but according to some of the top travel trade groups, they claim travel from Australia to the United States is down about 18%. I think it's more than that. To all of the Midas mates out there, or the Midas down under, let me know. I think the number is significantly higher than 18%, but we're seeing, whether it's from Canada, Mexico, Europe, Australia, Africa, South America, you name it. People are not going to the United States. There's a lot of reasons, but they're seeing what's happening on TV. Trump has activated the Marines against people in America. ICE is disappearing people to concentration camps in El Salvador and Libya. People are being detained for weeks without due process in the United States. It's an authoritarian regime here in America, and people don't want to visit it. It's not a welcoming country. One of the things that I wonder, though, with the World Cup and the Olympics coming up here, as Donald Trump is militarizing the United States, I worry that a lot of countries, and you tell me what you think in the comments, are not going to send their teams to the United States. I think as Trump escalates his behavior and things get more unstable, I think we're going to see countries saying we're out. And we've already seen with Donald Trump's travel bans with a lot of these countries as well. He's not even letting family members of the team show up. Like, they could end up being detained if they show up, or can the fans even show up? I don't know. I mean, it's a very unwelcoming environment. That's me putting it mildly. Also, we have Japan's Prime Minister Ishiba, and their top trade negotiator, Akizawa. They're saying that any deal with the United States is probably unlikely before the G7 summit. But at this point, the United States has made 0 deals in 90 days, so this doesn't surprise me at all. Also, the New York Times is reporting Japan flexing its military muscle at China and Trump. A highly visible missile base on Okinawa is part of Japanese defense buildups made amid fears of Beijing's growing power, China's growing power, and questions about the U.S. commitment to Japan. Japan is questioning that the United States is going to be committed to help it. So is all of NATO, right? So is all of our former allies right now. They think the United States is tapped out at this point, and they're right. The ship-slaying missiles of the Japanese Army 7th Regiment are mounted aboard dark green trucks that are easy to move and conceal, but for now, the soldiers are making no effort to hide them. Created a year ago, the fledgling regiment and its roving missile batteries occupy a hilltop base on the island of Okinawa that can be seen for miles. The visibility is intentional. The 7th is one of the 2 new missile regiments that the Army, called the Ground Self-Defense Force, has placed along the island on Japan's southwestern flank in response to an increasingly robust Chinese Navy that frequently sails through the waters of Japan. And Japan thinks, look, the U.S. doesn't have our back anymore. The U.S. doesn't have the U.S. doesn't have the U.S.'s back anymore. So we got to take things into our own hands. So we're seeing Canada, military buildup, Europe, military buildup, Japan, military buildup. And then even within Europe, you have like Germany saying they want to have the biggest army right now with Friedrich Merz, their new chancellor, versus France's buildup. So because Trump has irreparably damaged the stable world order, we're now seeing massive military buildups. I mean, just take a look at the fact that just even how Iran is dealing with Donald Trump, right? Donald Trump was claiming, oh, we're making a great deal of progress with Iran. Donald Trump was trying to do a weaker version of the Obama-Iran nuclear deal with less strong enforcement mechanisms than Obama had. You'll recall during Donald Trump's first term, he pulled the United States out of the Iran nuclear deal, criticized it. Now he's trying to redo the Iran nuclear deal. Trump pathetically begged Putin for help to get Iran to agree to the nuclear deal because Trump doesn't really have any other allies anymore. But Iran supplies the Shahad drones to Russia that attack and kill innocent Ukrainians every night. Like, Trump has no sense of the geopolitical landscape as Putin mocks Trump and views Trump as just weak and just totally ineffectual. But the whole world views Trump that way. But you see, even Iran is like laughing at Donald Trump's nuclear proposal and just saying, why would we ever do that? Just how weak Donald Trump is viewed as right now. We're seeing a lot of stories like this too, and I'm interested to hear what our Canadian viewers, the Maple Midas, have to say about this. Canada joining the European Union, never becoming a 51st state, but can you all see a potential future? Canada would be one of the third largest GDP, I think, in the European Union. What would your view be about Canada joining the EU, strengthening the EU as a check against the United States? I don't think that's all that far-fetched at all. You have President Zelensky posting the following yesterday. In the coming weeks, important meetings and negotiations will take place in Ukraine, and we're doing everything to ensure the June summits, the G7 summit in Canada, and the NATO summit in the Netherlands are not hollow. Russia only truly understands one language, the language of force. That is precisely the language that must become the working one across all formats of international engagement in the coming months. Ukraine continues to do everything possible to secure the release of our prisoners of war. The full list from Russia for the exchange of over 1,000 people, as agreed in Istanbul, have still not been provided in typical fashion. The Russian side is once again trying to turn even these matters into a dirty political and information game. For our part, we are doing everything we can to keep the exchange on track and moving forward. Democratic Congress member Eric Swalwell posted this image right here. This meme is everywhere. It's Trump tripping up the stairs of Air Force One. Taco fell. Trump always chickens out is what everybody refers to him as. He's viewed as a coward internationally and here in the United States. And I want to just point this out as well, because as I've said before, Trump has done 0 deals in 90 days. He tariffed the world and then did 0 deals, right? Trump, this is the headline from Politico. Trump promised Britain a trade deal. So where is it? A month after the, quote, historic, end quote, trade deal between the two sides was announced, duties remain in place with no clear timeline for when they'll lift. A month later, those duties remain in place. There's no timeline. Remember what I told you? I said, I read it. Remember when I read you this was what, a month ago, whenever it was? When they made the fake deal, and I said, I'm reading it. It's a memorandum of understanding that literally says, this is not a binding deal. This is not a binding deal, it said. So it wasn't a deal at all. Talking about it. And the tariffs are still in place there. There was no deal with China.